Live.
We're live. Welcome, everybody. Hello, Facebook, social media, whatever platform you're listening on. You're listening to the Edge podcast with Chip and Christy that we come on every week on Tuesdays, 1 o'clock, but between 1 and 3. It's every Tuesday, though, that's for sure. And we come talk to you about business, networking, pretty much anything that has to do with being an entrepreneur. I'm just going to go ahead and say that without screwing that whole word up. But today we're going to be talking about famous failures. Actually super successful people today and the failures that got them to where they're at today, to be a little bit more specific. But Christy, go ahead and say hi for one, and for two, let's jump into some famous failures.
Definitely. I am Christy Ogle. I am the co-founder of Etch, and I've had some famous failures too. And it's like devastating. You think you're the only person in the world it happens to. But when we started doing research, we found out there's a ton of failures that were just opportunities in disguise.
They are. I mean, and they're lessons learned. And the question is, are you going to get back up from them and move forward with the new knowledge you have, or are you just going to stay down and be like the rest? So we were going to bring up some old famous failures. I actually found one I didn't even know about and that I was going to talk about, and that's Milton Hershey. And Christy, I don't even know if you knew about it, but Milton Hershey apparently had 3 other candy businesses before he even launched and opened Hershey's, which is obviously Hershey's chocolate that's everywhere now. But that guy, I had never even, for one, I didn't know his first name was Milton or his last name was Hershey until I read this. But I do know that I did know Hershey's, which is, ultimately what you want, just people to not even have to know who you are, but just know your business and what it is and how great it is.
It's all about the brand there with Hershey's. I mean, I think there's even a town in Pennsylvania that's called Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I feel like I drove through there once, and I think that's where they make the candy. Like, I'm going out here, Chip. I don't even know.
Like I said, I didn't, until I read the story, I didn't know either. But it's crazy, when you put in like famous failures, how many people that you would just never imagine had failures. You see these people as the billionaires, the people, buying islands and yachts. You don't see them as the guys that are hustling and struggling, just like you and me, just like all of us that are still trying to find that one idea, that one marketing scheme that gets your stuff out there. Yeah. But it's trial and error in so many different ways. Christy, what's somebody you can think of that had a famous failure?
Man, one of a woman that I've always kind of loved, Oprah Winfrey. She had some famous failures. Number one, she grew up in poverty. Her folks, I think they met once and they made her. And she almost got fired from her first TV show. She was physically abused. She was sexually abused in her childhood. At 13, she got pregnant by one of her relatives that was abusing her. And at 14, she lost the baby shortly after it was born. And if I remember right, she was fired from that first television show, and they were getting ready to axe her on the one where she was like a talk show. They moved her from anchor to talk show, and that's where she really took off. And at the height of her success, the Oprah show, it'd been going for 20 or 25 years, and she decides, you know what, I'm going to do a network. And she said this was one of the toughest things she ever did, was shutting down their successful show and then jumping into this network, Oprah. And she goes, I put it out there, but nobody came. And they were gonna shut the network down at one point because it was not doing well, or as well as they thought. It didn't bring all the Oprah power, right? Yeah. And now it's a super successful network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and things you hear, I've always loved watching stand-up comedians, and the big running joke with them is, like if you can get Oprah as your wife, you're good for life, like that's. But ultimately, they all talk about, like, when Oprah got her start, she was doing the stuff that people didn't want to do in front of a camera at the beginning too. She was, doing the anchor jobs, saying whatever they told her to say. She wasn't, her own boss from jump. She didn't always run a show the way she wanted to run a show. She had to run a show how she was told. It took a long time to get to the point where basically whatever she says is golden, but she did do that though. Like, that is something that she did. People hear her talk and just do what she says, which is super. I mean, it's just amazing in itself. That's crazy influence. But yeah, and then Henry Ford though, like how literally, like, basically the person that figured out how to get cars to the masses, get automobiles to the masses. And this guy had, I mean, he was went bankrupt with like his first business, if I'm not mistaken, and then with the second business he had, barely walked away owning his name. That's basically how they worded it in what I was reading. Like, he just basically, when he left, all he owned was his name. That's it. And then Christy, what you were telling me something about Henry Ford too, right?
Yeah. Henry Ford is one of the very few people that ever sued a national newspaper. I think it was Chicago. I could be totally wrong, but he sued the Chicago Tribune because they wrote this story about him totally not factual at all, and they ended up calling him something like an idiot. And he actually was one of the smartest guys around. He had people at the push of a button that were the smartest engineers in the world, the smartest marketers in the world. And he put them on trial. He sued them for $1 million, and he actually won because those people were still saying, even though he made this car and it was amazing, right? They're still saying he was not very smart. I remember one of his quotes was like, if I would have asked my customers what they wanted, they would have told me they wanted a faster horse. And so he went out and he invited, I think it's the Model T. I'm not a car person, Chip. I'm sorry. Yeah. But he has the Model T. He makes millions off of it, right? But if he would ask his customers what they wanted at the time, they would have said a faster horse, not a car, because it wasn't even there.
And then, but I thought that was cool that his argument and the reason he won in court is because he basically proved that they were defacing his name. Instead of them actually reporting the truth, they defaced him because he proved he wasn't an idiot. His argument was, I'm not an idiot. I have all the smartest people in the world at my beck and call, and that makes me not an idiot, far from it, if anything. And then won the lawsuit.
He had this team of people that helped build him up. He didn't have to be the smartest guy in the room. And if you're the smartest guy or gal in the room, you're in the wrong room. You need to get in a room and surround your people with who are better than you, because that elevates you. If you're going to go out and you're going to learn to play tennis, you don't just go out there with somebody that's mediocre. You want to go out there and learn from somebody that's accomplished, somebody that's maybe an Olympian, or they went to Olympic trials, or they were a rock star in college or something like that. Because if you just play with somebody that's mediocre and you're mediocre, you're not going to get any better. So you want to play with somebody, you want to play a game with people that are better than you, so you can elevate your game.
For sure. No doubt about that. You are who you hang out with, man.
Yeah. One of the famous failures that I looked at was Katy Perry. Everybody thinks that she's been like this wildly successful singer all along, and she's always been successful. But in all reality, her first album only sold about 200 copies before the record label went out of business. So she dropped that label, and almost 10 years after that failure and lots of hard work and grinding, she came out with that song in '08 that was I Kissed a Girl. And it hasn't always been roses and butterflies for her since. I mean, she went through a terrible divorce. Now she's with somebody she loves and just had a baby, and she's still successful. She's still on American Idol, I think. So she went through some treacherous times also. But the thing about those times is it makes you who you are. It makes you stronger. They're tough, they're painful, but man, it leads to what's going to be beautiful in your life too.
If I'm not mistaken, and I'm might be wrong, isn't Katy Perry, wasn't that not her original singer name when she came out? Didn't she have like a Christian album under a different name? I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think she had like not like a failed career, but like she knew she couldn't go any further or something. So but that might be someone else too. So I don't want to even, I don't know. But there is a singer out there with that story, and I think it's Katy Perry, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember. I didn't follow her early on. I think Jessica Simpson was kind of like that too. I think she was a Christian singer in the beginning too.
I don't know. There was actually a lot of those in the 90s. Yeah. There was even like rock bands that you didn't know were under the Christian label, but that were back then. Nowadays, you can pretty much tell the difference. But
yeah.
But another thing, this is another interesting failure, because I grew up loving, especially living in Texas, loving the New York Yankees. And George Steinbrenner, I had no clue about this, but before he even bought the Yankees, he owned a basketball team like in Detroit or something. It might have been New York, but it was up north somewhere. And the basketball team flopped and went bankrupt too. And he was actually using the same exact strategies that he ended up using for the Yankees. And actually, when he bought the Yankees, and he implemented the same like marketing, pretty much the same practices, and it made the Yankees, so that's kind of it's hit or miss, I guess, with the business and niche as well. You got to find the target audience and do it correctly. But he knew what was right for baseball. I mean, because he built a dynasty with the Yankees.
Yeah, and he actually went past that dynasty with the baseball into pop culture. If you remember in the 90s, it only showed the back of his head, and George Costanza.
Oh, on Seinfeld. Oh, yeah.
Seinfeld. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah. That was some of the best episodes.
Yeah, they were, and you watch him, move his head and stuff like that. Like, it was hilarious. You never saw his face, I don't think. But,
no, he was always yelling. Well, not really yelling, just kind of telling George what to do and what not to do. It's funny.
Yeah. So when you said George Steinbrenner, that's what I pictured.
Well, that was actually one of the natural things I thought of too, because you're right though. That did, Seinfeld brought almost all the New York kind of culture to the world. That show was great.
J.K. Rowling, she was super successful, but do you know she wasn't successful until her 40s? Like, she didn't write Harry Potter until she was well into her 40s. She wasn't super poor growing up, but she always struggled. She was actually a single mother on welfare trying to support her daughter when she wrote Harry Potter. And then 12 major publishing houses rejected the book. Now that's some famous failures right there, is those 12 publishing houses that told her no. They're probably like, I can't believe I rejected Harry Potter. Still to this day, that's their epic failure, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's from what I understand, I think she wrote a lot of the stories from Harry Potter on napkins at a bar. And she would ride the train to pick her kid up or something, and she would write them in there as well. But she didn't have paper sometimes, that she would have compiled pieces of scrap paper, whatever she could write on, to put the whole, because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan myself. So I actually know that story. She Yeah, she's an amazing author, can create a whole, world like that is pretty incredible. But it's a struggle though, I mean, I can imagine at least she's getting to see it in her lifetime, because a lot of authors don't,
Yeah,
especially in that kind of literature,
definitely, definitely. I just recently, within the last few years, started watching Harry Potter, and I think I haven't seen the last one, but like to be able to engage a 12-year-old child and a 30 plus
Mhm.
something woman, like with your stories, that's amazing. Her mind is so innovative.
It is. Yeah, it was yeah, they're great books. I mean, great fantasy uh series,
Yeah.
very hard to beat. I mean, there's very few authors that even fall under that category, like Tolkien, Lewis, and her. There's a few more, but not many.
In 100 years, they'll probably remake those movies, or 50 years.
A
They'll remake,
hundred, given Hollywood, maybe like 25, maybe 20.
they'll redo them just like they've done like the Star Wars and Star Trek, and they'll be able to write prequels. They might even be doing that now. I don't
Well,
know.
no, there is ah I don't know what it is exactly, but like it's not Harry Potter's story, but there's a lot of other Wizarding World books and stories coming out.
That's all.
Obviously like the Fantastic Beasts series.
Yeah.
That's all you yeah, well, that's all Harry Potter's world. Yeah, that's before Harry was born.
Wow.
Yeah, like that's when like Dumbledore. Anyways, yeah, that's her as well. That's all her.
I learned something new today.
Yeah, yeah. Even talking about failures, we're learning things just talking about it.
Yeah. Another really famous failure that I love, and I've watched several of the movies about it, is Walt Disney. He filed bankruptcy multiple times.
Yeah.
And then he created this Walt Disney Corporation. Even in his lifetime, he didn't see how successful it was going to be, because I believe Walt Disney or Disneyland didn't open until after his death.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people were like during his like they told him he wasn't creative, he
Uh-huh.
wasn't smart enough to make it. None of his stuff was really any good, is what he was told. Basically, none of your stuff's any good. Give it up. You're an adult.
Yeah.
Be an adult. That's kind of what they were telling him.
And now that you and I are talking about that, we've been told that stuff too before.
Of
Like,
course.
I remember when I went out on my own to leave my good job with the state, my family was like, oh, maybe you should just go back to college, get a master's degree, and start counseling, and you'll
Yeah.
make good money. Like, even in my adult life, I've been told I'm not going to be successful. Just like, I mean, I'm not comparing myself to Walt Disney at all, but
No.
just like all of these people that we've been talking about, they've been told you're never going to make it. Just go back and get a real job.
Yeah.
Like, think of how different our lives would be if we did that.
I'll be honest. I 100% believe there's no such thing as a secure job anymore. Corporate America is dead. It's been dead, but we're still teaching it to the children, and we're
Mhm.
still sitting in these false beliefs that that's an amazing way to, go to college and just be in debt and owe people the rest of your life. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't. Now that I've had just a little bit of a taste, I can never go back. Because I would never feel safe. I would never feel comfortable and safe again, because even the big corporations lose their jobs. Like they sell, because they're going to sell to the highest bidder, and they're going to end up, breaking it all up into, it's just what happens. And for everything we were raised to believe, and I still believe that public schools teach this incorrectly, is dead though. Corporate America is dead. It's not, it's a thing of the past. And I believe what's going to save our country is entrepreneurs, people like us that keep hustling and finding new innovative ways, not only to make money, but to create new jobs. I mean, everybody that jumps out and opens a business on their own, they've not only created a job for themselves, but there's a potential to have jobs for other people later. So that's what makes the local entrepreneur such a strong position to be in.
Yeah, and every single one of us have this greatness within us that if we peel back the layers, we can get there. And sometimes peeling back those layers are painful and they're famous failures, just like we've talked about today. But once you peel back those failures, you'll ultimately get to that success, that seed of greatness, that piece you're supposed to share with the world. But I think an important part of it is you discuss now some of those failures that helped you get to that greatness, because it's not all roses and butterflies. You eventually get to the success if you keep trying. The only true failure in life is getting knocked on your back and not getting back up.
Yep, 100%. You know, it's all about what you do with the cards you were given, you know, and then sometimes you just got to take that one step forward to find the momentum to keep moving in the right direction. But in all honesty, as long as you're making positive action on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, it's going to pay off and come back to you. It's just eventually you're going to figure it out. It's trial and error, you know, on a life and death situation type of deal. You know, you just do it and figure out what the best way to handle the situation is. And I do know this, without like business networking like the Edge, I would be at least 10 steps behind where I am right now. I might eventually catch up, but it would take another year probably to get to even where I'm at right now within the last like 3 months, because it helps connect me to people that have done it. I get to hear of Christy's personal failures, and I get to learn from those, just like she gets to hear from mine and learn from those. And you know what? I've only been around for like a year. She's been around for way more than me in business, and we still can learn from each other, whether or not they've been around, whether they're brand new in business or not. They still have knowledge that can help you, because we don't know everything, and we don't have the same connections they have or the same perspective on life. Sometimes it takes, you know, someone on the outside of your life to kind of push you in the right direction. And that's, you know, when you're on your own, when you're a solopreneur, when you're working by yourself all day, every day to you know, to get what you need, to get the money and to raise your family, that it's way better to have the help from other people, especially like-minded business owners. That's gold mine to me. That's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah. Remember, you're going to have failures. You're going to have things that you're going to have to bounce back from. And you and I, knowing each other's histories, like, we've had those. But here's the one thing: don't give up. Keep going. You're going to eventually be successful. The odds are in your favor.
I agree. And what you need to do is just start calling your friends out on not supporting you. I keep seeing all these similar posts, like that one. I bring this up a lot though, but it's so true, man. Like if you were to hear that Rihanna started a new perfume line, your initial thought is going to be, oh man, she's going to kill it. She's going to make so much money on that perfume line. It's going to smell so good. It's going to be so awesome, because, you know, she's got the connections, the team, all that stuff. Anyways, and then you, the next day you hear your neighbor just created his and her own perfume line, or open their own business, open their own landscaping business. Your immediate thought is, I give them 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And that I believe, and this is so I've never looked into this, but I truly believe that is the way that our education system puts it in our mind, to believe that if you break off from the norm, chances are you're going to fail. The numbers don't lie, you know, this and that, but the numbers probably don't lie. But, you know, the truth is if you don't give up and you get back up and you keep going, you start becoming, the lower percentages, and there's it's not impossible to get there. It's a very feasible goal to reach.
80% of business is mindset, 20% is skills. So here's the problem with people that get into business and they have these failures that they don't ever make it back from, is they let people get in their head. I mean, they have them rent free in their mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay a lot of money to get inside this head. So it's all about mindset. You have to have the right mindset, that you keep going and don't give up to achieve greatness, like Henry Ford or Beyonce or, Walt
Jay-Z is a great failure story too, by the way.
Jay-Z, you can't listen to those other people because they mean absolutely nothing to you. They're worthless at becoming the person that you're to be. Just don't give up and keep going.
When Jay-Z broke into the rap game, pretty much everybody that was actually in hip hop was telling him, you're a dope man. What are you doing? You're supposed to be in the streets being a dope man. You've got all this money doing this. Why are you doing this? And he's like, man, it's my passion. I like lyrics. I like doing this. And then, he becomes one of the greatest. Just,
Beyonce.
And he don't care. That's the thing. He didn't listen though, because it doesn't matter what especially the people in your immediate circle, it doesn't matter what they say. They're not the ones you're trying to sell to. They're not the ones that you're trying to do business with anyways. They are merely sideliners. They're just on the sideline. They're part of your life. They get to be, go down this journey with you, yes, but don't let them affect the journey,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Christy, is there anything we didn't talk about? I know we were going over famous failures. You want to talk about the Edge for a second before we jump off?
Yeah, the Edge is a group for like-minded individuals who want for each other, not from each other. Edge stands for empower yourself in business, develop your skill set, grow your network, and educate yourself about business. Chip and I are seeing people go into business daily. I think there was 950 in the area that went into business since the first of the year in our area. You want to have those skills that set you apart from everyone else and have that mindset of like-minded individuals, because you can't listen to people in your inner circle. So Edge is a place where you can come, you can talk about some of those failures, how you can turn them into opportunities and not give up and keep going and be the person that you're intended to be. And we have a virtual meeting. We also have an in-person meeting on Thursday mornings in the Waco, Texas area. It's absolutely amazing. And we have about 3 opening up over the next month. We've been told several times that we weren't going to be successful for Edge, but it seems to be working out for us.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's funny you say that, because I hear it, but it's not something that I let come in. It's in one ear, out the other immediately, because it's not acceptable. I don't accept that as a truth. So, why should you accept it as a truth? Why should any of us accept our imminent failure, according to these people, as a truth? Because it's not. We make our own truth. We tell our own stories, and that's what the Edge is. Edge wants to help everybody grow their business the way they want it to be, though, because that's something really big. It's your business. It's you better than anybody, and what you can do better than anybody. We just want to help you find that focus, that reason, and then also connect you to other people that are doing the same, which grows your prospect list. So
I think you said something very, very important right there that I want to touch upon is helping others. Like a successful person doesn't have to kick other people to be successful. A successful person helps others to achieve their greatness also. We are all about helping others to be successful in their business and in their lives, because it's much more. Most of us get into business to put our families first and make money. And there's so many businesses that just are out there and they're barely getting by. And God, the universe, whatever it is that you believe in, didn't put you here to just barely survive. You're here to thrive. And when you change that mindset, it's amazing what happens in your life. I've seen it transform with Chip over the last 6 to 8 weeks. And the life that he's living. And I've also seen it in so many other entrepreneurs that they're starting to come alive, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful and it's almost magical, kind of like Harry Potter. And the things that these people are going to accomplish and the people they're going to become, I can't wait to meet them in 10 years.
Yeah, it's a growth that we all can have together. We can all grow together as a group, which is another amazing thing. And we are going to be opening groups in different cities here soon. We can't wait to launch that, and plenty more. We got much more coming up in every week. You know, if you are in the Waco area, we'd love to see you Thursday mornings, 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. at La Maravillosa, 2320 West Waco Drive.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Christy, I think we covered it all, but I could be wrong. Help me out here.
We are good. I think we covered everything we wanted to. And just to let you know, with the 8:30 meeting on Thursday, they have some amazing coffee there.
Oh yeah, yeah. The place, yeah, the food's good too. So the coffee and the food is really good, and the company's even better. So
It is.
yeah. So for now, this is the Edge Podcast with Chip and Christy. We're out. We love you guys. Stay safe.